So it's not always talking about the problems. Let's try to find solutions. My guest, no stranger, Mr. Anderson Jolly. Andy Jolly. Of course, the son of, your popular pharmacist, deceased, Mr. Anderson Jolly. Good morning, Andy. How are you doing this morning? Long time.
Good morning, man. It's been a while. Yeah. I finally got a chance to drop by again, So,
wow.
So it's been a pleasure being in Dominica. Dominica is home. So
you find yourself here very often. I know you have a lot of businesses out there.
I do have some businesses out there, but, there's also businesses here as well. So, I try to burn the candle on both ends, if you want to call it that. But yes, Dominica is home, and while many of us that live outside Dominica have done great things. I mean, for America, for Europe, for France, for all these other places that we've gone, even places in the Caribbean. I mean Dominicans in St. Lucia or St. Kitts, but our home country, we always feel, very patriotic to our home country and feel like sometimes we haven't done enough here. But
well, some people are just giving up.
Well, some people have given up because sometimes you have to realize where you can best use your talent. It's either you can, I think in my mind, if you can make it in Dominica, you can just make it anywhere because you can definitely go out into the world and do some good things. And I meet Dominicans all over the place that do really great things and, really popularize the working sentiment or the educational sentiment in Dominica, and it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to see that we can come from what I call, this is how I call a small rock and expand into the world and people see what we're made of and come back home and really explore.
What about people who say, well, the environment is not conducive for us, so we can't return to Dominica?
Well, that is true.
Do you expect that?
That is true. Oh, yeah. I don't think... I think if you've been trained in a different country, if you've lived in a different country for a significant time, Dominica poses some significant challenges for you to move back 100%. Technology-wise is one of the places where we excel at because literally I can run everything from Dominica. We have good telecommunications. We have very stable internet. We have good power sources, in terms of, things are usually very stable in terms of technology. So getting to the outside world, we do that. However, there's other things that you just can't do here that you have to go to the outside world to do.
So talk to me about some of the challenges that we face in Dominica.
Well, we have issues. I think our primary issue, banking is one of our primary issue. I don't think our banks are very well standardized. So finance is probably top of the line for everybody. I think the playing field is not level. So it's very hard.
Expound on that for me. The playing field is not level.
Well,
just phrase that.
Well, if in America, for instance, Matt, if you have a great idea, you could just come up with an idea. Hey, I'm going to make pigs fly. Mm-hmm. I think you could get 10 venture capitalists to send money at it to try to make pigs fly because they know if they make pigs fly, they're going to make big money out of it. I think if you have good ideas in Dominica, very few people listen to you unless you have capital. So I think this country is more capital driven. If you have something, you can make more. If you don't have anything, you cannot do anything. Pretty much. That's how it is.
So what about those who say, well, a few people, quote unquote, a few people can survive in Dominica?
That is true. A few people can survive.
What about the rest of us?
Well, one of the things that makes many countries great is the middle class. And what you find happening here is that you have an upper class, a lower class, and the middle class is getting smaller. And as you find the middle class getting smaller, Matt, you will find more destabilization. So the opportunities are not there for the guy in the lower class to move to the middle class as readily available. I've met people who worked in jobs last 20 years and they're probably still making the same amount that they were 20 years ago.
The same amount of money.
The same amount of money monthly. Or very, very, very little above that. And Meanwhile, the world has gone ahead and the world is increasing in price, whether it be our gasoline, our groceries, our electrical bill, our water bill, the products, the sundries that we have on the shelves are increasing. So what constantly happens is that gap is beginning to increase. And if you do not give the people in the lower bracket or the lower class of financial stability the chance to move to the middle class or to get ahead or to have the power to go ask their boss and say, hey, I want a raise, or an ability to say, hey, I can pick up a second job and I can make more money, or I can use my money and invest in something that's going to make some more money, then they can never move to that middle class. And the middle class keeps dropping because...
So what is the chokehold there in terms of preventing the middle class that you talk about from moving up?
Opportunity. Simple opportunity. And we have to create those opportunities. I mean, whether it be we have to create more jobs, we have to create better paying jobs. That's one of the things that we have not focused on a lot in Dominica. We have jobs, but they're very low paying jobs. We've not really figured out how to take advantage of technology jobs. We've not figured out how to, there are people making money on YouTube, Matt. You believe that? 10 years ago, who made money on YouTube? There's people getting checks cash from YouTubes. We have songs or songwriters that are building. Those people have to be able to register their songs and get royalties from their songs. We have artwork that we need to get out there that we have localized to Dominica, that we cannot get to the rest of the world. We have people who are talented, whether it be performers, artists, that we need to get out in the world. And if we can get those people out in the world, or we can create a stage for them to get out, then you've created opportunities. You've created ways for people to go out there. And I'll give you a good example, Matt. Asa Bantan is more popular in other countries than in Dominica?
That's true. That's a fact.
How is that possible? He's from Grand Bay. He's a Grand Bay man. But if you go to Guadeloupe, or if you go to St. Lucia, or if you go to some of the other places, San Martin, his poster is up on the walls. He's bigger because they recognize talent and they recognize ability and they love it. They enjoy it. So these people have an opportunity to make more money outside Dominica. So we really haven't invested in higher paying jobs and better jobs. So not only do we need more jobs, we need better jobs. And I think that's how you move people up. You give them the ability. Most people, Matt, in life, and you and I probably include, don't want a handout. We don't. We don't want stuff for free. We want the ability to work, make money, and afford things. We don't want a free car or a free house or a free, this or that. We don't want.
So how do you explain, for example, just moving away for a minute here, how do you explain the government giving people free housing? Is it something you support?
It's not something free anything is not something I support. I think there has to be what you call a just fee attached to anything. There's nobody who walks in and runs anything properly that says, here's the deal, Matt. I will give you something worth $10, but I only want you to give me $5 for it.
That makes sense.
Let's just go down to the basic platform of doing business or the basic platform of running any organization. The organization has to do well enough so that it can continue to support itself and to continue to help others. Because at some point, I could probably buy 10 shirts and say, Matt, this is $10, but give me $5 for it. But at some point in time, I'm going to run out of shirts. I can't help any more people. I can probably help 10 Matts. But then, what happened when the 11th guy come around? I'm going to be out of business. So you have to make it so that it can continue and it can continue to thrive. Not only that, I think any operation that you run, you have to run it with financial responsibility or physical responsibility. It has to make sense. I cannot go to the bank and tell them I'm losing money, give me more money.
So,
neither can you.
So what advice, if any, would you give to the government, not being partisan or political, in terms of the housing that we now see going on around the country?
Well, I'm going to tell you something about
Be very brutally honest.
I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't believe in government. I don't believe in government. I'm going to tell you why. The people are the government. So keep in mind that we've elected people to act as the governing body. So the government should govern, meaning that they should set rules, set placement, set policies in place to ensure that the country runs. But remember, it's the people that are the governing body. So remember, Matt, when somebody gives you something, it's like me taking your wallet and going to buy a gift for you and then giving you the gift. Did I really give you anything?
Let's take a phone call. I want this program to be very interactive. Hold on there. Are you there, caller?
Yes, Matt. Matt, it's so refreshing and good to hear a Dominican speaking directly at the problems and coming with reason. Because, Matt, I've always been advocating for the middle class in Dominica. And what we see happening is that the middle class is shrinking. You understand? And the next point he made, my brother, hats off to you, is that the people are the government. And some people, Matt, I'm very happy to hear him, Mr. Jolly, because, Matt, it depends on who's saying these things. Because I will say that nobody will listen to me, but maybe they will listen to Mr. Jolly. So we need more people with an open-minded and independent and love Dominica like Mr. Jolly to speak out, Matt. Matt, I was forced to call, Matt. Mr. Jolly, hats off. I really respect you and love you, my brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Let's go back to a point we made earlier about making the middle class, bigger than it is right now. But we need to produce, if you will, the conducive environment that we're talking about. How do we get there?
Well, I think it's simple. I think one of the things that we've done with Dominica,
We have a crumbling middle class in Dominica. For sure.
we do have, in fact, it's very slim. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, Matt. As soon as the middle class disappears in Dominica, I'm going to tell you the poor are going to take from the rich. That's just how it works. It works that way.
The poor is going to take from the rich.
But that's how it has to work. The poor has to eat. And the class of so-called lower class is going to be bigger than the top class, which is the rich folks, then they're going to come after. They're going to riot. They're going to protest. They're going to start creating issues. And pretty soon everything will come to disaster. And that's how it works. I mean, just if you've gone to school and you've learned this one simple thing, if you put a rat against a wall, it will bite, even the wall. I mean, it's gotta eat something, and that's just how it works.
That's real stuff. Hello, talk to me on the telephone. Yes. Oh, yes. Hello.
Yes, can you hear me? Good morning.
Very, very well. Yes.
Okay, this young man, my goodness, he made my body shiver. You are the spitting image of your dad. Very friendly, have a nice smile, approachable, no nonsense man, to the point. I love that. Thank you. Continue, speak your mind. Be a beggar, don't wait for handouts. I love that and I love you. May your dad's soul rest in peace.
All right. Somebody's saying, of course, you say you don't like politics. You will never consider being a politician sometime.
Well, first of all, I would have to take a huge pay cut. I mean, to be a politician is, I think, the way politics, Matt, came about. A lot of people don't know that. Politics was not designed as a job. Politics was designed that you are somebody who is interested in the betterment of the country and you were doing good things. You came to the forefront. You came for the people. You did your service. And after 1 or 2 terms, you left and you went back to do whatever you were doing. The problem is that we've gained career politicians. I think that's where the world went wrong. It became a career. It became, hey, I'm going to do this, so I'm going to do whatever it takes.
For the rest of my life.
For the rest of my life. So now politics is what they call a real job. But politics was never a job. It was that, hey, we think that the people love you, you're doing good things, come forward, do good things for more people. Do as much as you can, and then when you're tired of doing, let somebody else do more. It was never meant so that it was a dictatorship or a slavery organization where there was a master versus a slave, or that's not what it was meant for. It was meant as a service. So anybody, I've seen Mr. Nassif got into politics before. They don't do that as a job. Politics cannot pay people like that. They can't pay. Politics cannot pay me. My salary and the amount of money that I make monthly, the amount I would crumble simply because it's not a job. It's a service. It's one where you go out and you serve as many people as you possibly can, and then you help the nation move forward.
It's 10:17. A lot of phone calls are coming here from Mr. Jolly this morning. We're talking frank. We're getting to the point. We're hitting it as it is. Hello, talk to me, yes?
Matt, good morning.
Morning to you.
Matt, I didn't really want to call, no, but I have to call. Your guest make my day, man, because he said something about taking somebody's wallet, buy them a gift from their own wallet. And just last month was my birthday, right? And my son said, Daddy, let's go to the store. And I went to see him. But when he finished pick up, Daddy, pass your card. And so I just be laughing, man. So thank you, man. Thank you for educating us.
All right. Thank you very much. More telephone calls. Hello, yes? Oh, sorry. We had to call you back. You have to call me back because your telephone is giving some problems. 10:18. Hello. We're making this very interactive, as we can. Yes.
Dr. Jolly's.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good morning.
But I like the analogy. A man takes your wallet, you gave him your wallet, he buy your gift, and you have to be eternally, Doc, grateful to him for taking your money and buy a gift for you. It's very interesting. To balance things off, it has to be between the rich and the middle class. Anytime the middle class disappears, and then it's only the rich that is on top, the lower class, as the brother say, it will be chaotic, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
He said that you pin a rat against a wall, it cannot eat through the wall. Whatever you block it with, it will be coming back at you. And the brother said that the lack of opportunities, Matt. And it is, I believe he may not have subscribed to that. It is systematic, it is deliberate that things remain the way it is because it's a political strategy to have everybody groveling at the feet of the minority that has become, that is the overnight rich people in Dominica. So everybody has to come to them. More poor people it have, according to Lennox Linton. They don't like poor people. They love people to remain poor, or they love people that is poor. And if the brother can diagnose the problem, or maybe because he's a medical doctor, Matt, you there with me?
No, he's not a medical doctor. He's a pharmacist by profession, but he's a businessman as well.
He's that intelligent to even diagnose problems. You mean to tell me people that are medical doctors within the administration, Matt, cannot diagnose what the brother is seeing as a pharmacist, Matt? It is deliberate, it is systematic to disempower and impoverish people. So guess what? In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Blessings.
All right, somebody says, blessings to you. This individual, Mr. Jolly, needs to pop up every week on your show. He's speaking my language. This is somebody from the diaspora saying that to you. It's 10:20. Hello, talk to me, yes?
Yes, good morning, Matt.
Good morning to you. Good.
Good morning, Mr. Jolly. I am so happy to hear you on the media hearing with Matt this morning. And you made a statement a short while ago I want to agree with totally. When you said politics is about service and not a career. I think we need to put that. We need to reinstill civics and make people understand that, because that is a very critical and important statement. Because when you go into politics as a job, you look into exploit in any job, which is rightful. If you want a job, you try to maximize as much revenue as you can from the job. But when you go to serve people, you go to serve them and you make sacrifices in serving them. And that is what our politicians don't seem to understand. They go in there as a job and they want to line their pockets. And, well, some of them say they don't want to come out like the Freedom Party of Arlene Carbon and Henry George and all these people. And the sad thing about it is people like Henry George, who knew about the sacrifice that politicians make, is now encouraging those that see politics as a career and keeping the poor people of this country blind, giving some of them apartments that they will not be able to maintain very soon, and tell them that they're doing them a favor when it is their own resources that could be utilized to create avenues for them, jobs, industries, and that kind of thing. It's good to hear.
And the point is that I call sometimes you give the same person the apartment, and they come back to you to help them maintain that apartment.
Yeah, to pay their light bill, their water bill, their whatever. You understand? Because you didn't want to make them independent. You are creating dependencies. And how many people can a small economy like Dominica support in their dependency? And if you are genuine and you really care about people, you wouldn't give them a fish. You'll teach them to fish. The Bible says that. You understand? And for some people, they're satisfied with the fish, and then they'll come for water to stew it, or oil to fry it in, and seasonings and so on, and they'll keep coming and going. And the productive time that they could use creating employment and wealth for themselves, they spend it looking for somebody or somewhere to beg. And that is so sickening. Mr. Jolly, we need people like you in the politics. People that are ready to make sacrifices. Take the pay cut, you understand? And
do it for 5 years, right? All right. Thank you, caller. Thank you. Let's play this voice note here. Somebody seems very impressed here.
Mr. Peltier, I am listening to Mr. Jolly articulate his viewpoint as far as politics is concerned, and that is something I've been saying for a while now, Mr. Peltier. Politics is a process whereby we select a few people to do for us as a collective what we cannot achieve as individuals, but that only works when we rotate these individuals. Anytime we allow them to stay there forever and ever, the system is not going to work. And that is why here in the Caribbean, we are having so many leaders believing they are dictators, because the people fall in love with their politicians. They become idols to these people, and all of a sudden they can do no wrong, and they should remain there forever and ever. And as long as we continue to hold that mentality, we are going to have a serious problem here in the Caribbean as far as our leaders are concerned.
At 10:25, but you're about to make a point, Andy, as it relates to, you give somebody a house, they come back to you to get money to pay the rent, or not necessarily the rent, the light bill or the telephone bill.
Yeah, well,
how does that work?
Well, it's simple. I mean, people have needs, and I think I told people this story, and a few people this story, and I'm probably going to tell it to you in a short version, but you can get it pretty quick. When my dad was alive, he saw how well I was doing, and he came up to Seattle, and we were touring, and he saw a great company that I was building. Obviously, I named it Jolly's Pharmacy as well in Seattle. Mm-hmm. So we have the biggest, largest, privately owned pharmacy in Washington State. We serve the most number. I mean, we fill 100,000 prescriptions a month, which is more people than what Dominica has. And my dad came to me and he wanted to give me a suit, Matt, a nice suit, because he says, Andy, you've done well. I don't want you wearing these little T-shirts anymore. I want you wearing a nice suit. My dad always wore a little T-shirt to work, like a shirt jack or something like that. I said, he said, I want you to wear a nice suit and nice shoes. I'm going to get you that. And I told him plainly, I said, Dad, I don't want the suit. He says, but why? I mean, it's a gift from me. I'm going to spend $600 US and buy you this nice suit, and I want you to have it because you've done good for yourself. I said, I don't want the suit. He said, well, explain to me why you don't want the suit. I said, Dad, you understand, when you give me a suit, now I have to find somewhere to go. And then when I find somewhere to go, then I have to find somebody to go with. Now, keep in mind, Matt, if a guy like me dress up in a suit, I'm good looking.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need an ugly girl next to me. I need a good looking girl next to me. So now I have to spend money and get that good looking girl Not only that, I have to buy that good-looking girl a dress, buy her hair, buy her nails, buy her eyes, and whatever else is needed. But Matt, not only that, I used to drive a cheap Honda Civic. It was a two-door Honda Civic. It worked the purpose, work back, work home. But now I
From
need
point A to point
point
B.
B. But now I need a nice car. And no, I need a nice car because I got a nice suit and I got somewhere to go and I got a nice girl to go with. No girl wants to ride in an old Honda Civic. But Matt, the problem is I get the nice car, but then I show up to work with the nice car and all my employees see that I have a nice car. What do I do, Matt? It continues. It continues, and then you need a nice house, and then you need a nice rug, and then you need nice furniture. So you have to understand, whenever you give somebody something, and this is not houses, this is everything, you have to figure out, are you really doing good for that person? Can that person afford it? I am not going to give you a Mercedes-Benz if I know you make $200 a month, because $200 a month cannot service a Mercedes-Benz. I will give you a Hyundai Excel instead. Does that make sense?
I understand that. All right, let's do this one there from culture. All right, somebody says, Matt, Andy has the independence to speak like that because he's not dependent, and that is the problem with the majority of Dominicans. Do you agree?
That is true. I'm rich, and that's just the end of it. I mean, I think everybody has the ability to speak their mind, just as it is, and I think everybody.
So what is preventing people from speaking?
Well, a lot of people feel that for speaking their mind, they may be oppressed, or they may be selected out of a group, or even looked down on for speaking their minds, whether they're right or they're wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong, man. I come here and my opinions are my opinions. It's totally my ideas that I have seen in the process. And guess what? Some people may like it and some people don't. And I'm okay with that. I'm not into conversion of people.
You're totally independent.
No, I'm totally independent, man. If you decide today you're a Pentecostal and I'm a Catholic, I'm not going to convert you. The whole Pentecostal is doing well for you. Catholic's doing great for me. I'm just telling you how Catholic is. And they're probably right, but I think everybody can speak their minds. But yes, there people do feel like they don't have a voice because it may affect them financially, and they're afraid of that. I mean, I think people are afraid to lose their daily bread. Dominica is very hard to get a job right now.
Do you blame them, though?
I don't blame people. I mean, I mean, Matt, it's the same thing with people who are abused. I mean, they're afraid. They're in a situation where they feel helpless, or they feel that they cannot.
So the abuse continues.
Well, the abuse continues because they feel they can't get out, or wives that get beaten by their husbands, or children that are in abusive situations, or people that are in abusive relationships. Why can't they get out? Because they're stuck in that mode. They're afraid for their life. They're in fear. So that's it. That's how simple it is. But yes, I can't speak that way for myself because I have created a good bit of independence for myself. And
how do the rest of us get there, though?
Well, I think it's a mindset. And I think sometimes, even though opportunities come to us, I see many opportunities in Dominica every day. We're missing so many things. Things that tourists need, things that are needed by the public of Dominica on an everyday basis, but people are not willing to take chances. They have $10 in their pocket. They're not willing to risk the $10 to make $100. they'll say, hey, I prefer stay with my $10 because if I lose that $10, I don't have anything else. I risk money every day. I put money on the line. I spend millions of dollars constantly, and I risk it every day. I don't know if I'm going to make back the money, but if I lose a million, it's probably I miss one meal for the month. I mean, but it's okay. It's all right. I'll figure out how to make it back. But I think you have to have that brain that says, look, if I put things at risk, maybe there's an opportunity that I can get to leap forward. So
let's take a phone call. Are you there?
Mr. Peltier,
Yes, sir.
my brethren, that is very rude. I mean, small mind statement for somebody to say because the brother is rich. Matt, you know the amount of rich people that in Dominica, Matt?
It's true.
You hear them talking now, Matt?
No, they're very silent.
The brother is fearless and the brother is principled. That is what he's driven by. I don't have to ask him because it's trend of discussion. I get the context. To come to that conclusion, Matt, it is not, Matt, I'm a rich man.
No, you're not. You're not.
And you heard me through the years, Matt. I've been victimized. You know how much them the World Bank and the IMF send money to help people after marry and all of that. Spend over $2,000 to get $6,666. I spend all my money to meet the 8 requirements, Matt, and they never gave me a penny. Did that deter me?
Nope.
So the brother is just dealing with his humanity. He's principled and he's fearless. So all of you that out there listening and saying, oh, because he's rich or he's independent is why he's talking. Why all your silence? Blessings.
All right, thank you. But how do we get things better? How does the government, get things better?
Well, I think we can fix Dominica in one swing of the bat. And
How do we do that?
I'm going to tell you this, and many people out there, if you want, you can take note of this and write this in your manual. I think we have to get the government out of private sector and governing. So the government needs to go back to governing, and by governing,
And leave the rest of the private sector.
leave the rest of the private sector. So the government right now, to some extent, is even competing with the private sector, and that's the way I see it.
For real.
So anytime you have that sort of situation, you're gonna have a lot of instability. The businessmen of the world are going to look down on it because there you have somebody who has so-called an unfair advantage. They have a checkbook that doesn't have a limit, and then you're competing with them. They have opportunities that may come to them, and you're never going to have those opportunities. They may have ideas, or you may have ideas, but you cannot exercise your ideas. They may have ideas, even though they're not as good, they may be able to exercise them just because they have feelings that this might be a good thing. So I think the government has to get back into governing. And let's go back and read what governing means. And let's say, okay, this is all we're going to do. We're going to govern, which means we're going to create policies, procedures, opportunities, make sure we pass those opportunities.
Create the
on.
right environment.
That's right. So once you start doing your own thing, with or competing with the private sector in any regard, whether it be buildings, whether it be selling, buying, I think you've lost the part of the governing because you're always, it's human nature, Matt. Nobody loves Matt more than Matt. I don't love Matt more than Matt. You love yourself, so you're always going to pick you over me. And I don't want people to go out there blaming government officials or blaming power reps. And a lot of time I hear people say, hey, this one's not good, that one's not good. And I said, no, this is normal human nature. And a lot of times people say, well, this person came after me or this person retaliated after me because I told them that I didn't like what they did. Well, Matt, if somebody comes to you...
Or they're victimized.
If somebody comes to you and tell you they don't like you, I think that builds up a normal human response that you equally you get offended, and you might not like that person either. So anybody who comes to you or comes after you personally, take government out of it. We're just talking human, simple nature. Once they come after you or they do not appreciate what you do or they criticize what you do, you as a human being are going to come forward and defend it. And you're going to put your foot down as much resources that you have behind it to show that you're correct and they're wrong. And that's just the end of the story. So it's not victimization necessarily. It's just self-preservation. I think a lot that happens, that we did something and look how good this turned out, but you guys don't like it. Oh my God, Jesus.
One problem I find though, in some areas, there are many areas in private sector here, they don't create the environment to push for upward mobility. They don't train their staff, and that is a significant problem that I have in the private sector.
Well, we have a problem in Dominica, and I think we've had this for a very long time, and it just goes with retention of people. I think if there's a big problem of loyalty. Anytime, and this is the ice pop philosophy, man. Mm-hmm. This is what they call that. I train you to make my ice pop. 2 days later, you're making ice pop across the road. Why do you want me to spend time training more people to make ice pop? Because that's just training my competition, right? But I think what we have to do, we need to create loyalty. And I think part of that also has to do with the population that we have. We have a very small population. I mean, you have countries like Antigua that have over 100,000 people. St. Lucia has close to 200,000 people. I mean, the rest of the countries, you can go back and forth. Dominica has one of the smallest populations. So if you have 2 people making ice pop for 65,000 people, that's a 50% cut in your ice pop money. So I think this is why a lot of people don't invest so much in there. They cannot retain those people, and there's no loyalty program.
Would you encourage them to train though?
Well, I encourage people to train. I think education, knowledge is going to be key. I mean, if we have to get out of the mess that we're in, I mean, we need to educate more people. We used to, I don't know if you know, gone were the days when we used to do carpentry or home economics in school. I don't think I can get a good young wife that can cook for me these days. I have to get an older wife if I have to help. Because everybody knows how to use the microwave now. Nobody knows how to start to boil a broth from scratch, So you just pick it up at my boy or something, I don't know. Yeah, but nobody really goes home and really thinks of what they're cooking. Make sure this is a healthy diet for your husband or your wife. I mean, things have gotten so quick now that we've stopped learning the basics. The agriculture we used to teach in schools, the carpentry we used to treat electrical in school before, masonry. Those things, we have to go back to training our workforce. And I think it's very hard for employers to train employees. I mean, just think of it. If you have one person working at your desk, you send that person away for a 2-week training. How do you replace that person?
So why don't you bring in that person there and train your entire staff?
Well, you could. It's expensive. We just don't have the money for it. I mean, I think that's all it comes down to. It comes down to economics. I mean, employers, if employers spend more money, they have to pass the money on to the consumers. Do the consumers have the buying power to go ahead and foot that bill? The answer is no, not right now.
Hello, on the telephone. Are you there? Yes?
Hey, good morning, Matt, and good morning.
Morning to you, morning.
Jolly. Yeah. Not only is this conversation refreshing, but, it is revolutionary. And Blessing alluded to an important and significant point. It's not about being well off, because as he pointed out, there are several well-off people in Dominica, but they lack character, they lack discipline, and they are unable or unwilling. And not because they have money, it's greed. Come on and vent those views. It's refreshing. I mean, here he is. He's not partisan. He's not blasting a government or scary to anybody. He's talking facts. He's exposing visceral issues of significance that will help to develop the country. And one observation I want to make about the middle class, the middle class used to be the public officer. And every year they got, every 3 years they got salary increases. The public service, that is where the middle class largely came from. That has evaporated. We have an NEP instead of tenured public officers who will show off their jobs, who could take risks, who could go and buy and sell and go into business, employ people. That segment of society has been evaporated by this corrupt government. I have a right to say that, that's what Jolly's talk. So it's very important and refreshing that more people would gather, collate the energy, the honest energy to come and speak to them, like he has done, without playing partisan politics. I want to compliment you, my brother, and I know where that blood coming from. and he was a powerful man. I think you haven't gone too far, fallen too far from that shoe. Thank you for your views and opinions and expressions. I wish more people were Suki. We had Suki coming out and talk recently. So that's another example here. Thank you very much. I wish more people, more Dominicans feel and be willing. It has nothing to do with money and wealth and crap like that. It's because you're a person who is principled and you have character and you come from a good blood, good source, honest blood. I thank you very much for your work this morning.
Well, a lot of compliments here to you, Andy. And somebody says, morning to you, bro. Thanks for having this young man on your show this morning. I am actually moved by what he's saying. Actually, he's helping me move forward. So, Andy, you actually influence a lot of people there. With
Good.
And I suspect that's the objective.
Well, the objective is you be your best self. And I think a lot of times we wait for governments to do things or employers to do things or people to do things for us. A lot of us need to be our best self. And I think the creativity, the knowledge, the skill is in us. I mean, we are very, very proud people. We are very, very hardworking people. And we're resilient people. I mean, Dominica has survived for things that most other people would just lie down and just play dead for. So I think we need to start thinking of what we're doing. And if Dominica does not have what it takes for you to do, you got to go find it somewhere. I mean, that's just what it is. So we need to start to, hopefully we will have the people that will look. I mean, if we all start migrating, they're gonna say, "Hey, shit! Sorry, something's wrong. let's go back to the drawing board here. We need to fix things. Everybody's leaving the party. The music must be bad. Let's fix it. That's it."
And you think we need to fix it right
Well,
now?
we need to change the music so that, guess what? We bring the people back to the dance floor, Matt. That's what it is. It's a simple philosophy. If we want people to dance all night, we must play good music.
On the telephone?
Yes, good morning, Matt.
Morning to you.
And good morning to Brother Andy. Well, man, Andy,
Morning.
I admire your characteristic resolve and your independence of thought. Very good. And interestingly, you made a point about, the competition in the private sector. And Matt, you seem surprised, as if that is the first time you are hearing that. We've been talking about it, and I'm happy that another voice has been added to the call and the cry. Matt, let's take, for example, quickly, that the government right now, before you had local promoters bringing in, superstars into Dominica, Jamaican artists and so. Nowadays, if the government doesn't do it, no one does it. They have hijacked that. The government is involved in fertilizer. The government is involved in lumber. Now, the point is, when you compete, everything, apartments have been built around Dominica. Everything is being imported. That is competition. If you want your private sector to grow, you have to give it the opportunity so that they can make money, so that they can make more, employ more people, so that more money can be spun off in the economy and so forth. And one more point I want to make. Even so now, the government even hijacking the technical people work, all the technocrats. We have a geothermal project. That's why we are not going anywhere. Over $100 million have been spent, and we have not been able to have one matchbox lit by geothermal power. And that is the reason, because politicians lead it. The politicians must have the policies in place, the right policies in place, to direct and to govern those projects. They should not get involved in speaking of those projects. Give the technical people a chance to explain to the people. When they get involved, they contaminate the whole thing and everything is spoiled. So this discussion is very important. And Andy, I'm telling you, probably you are closer to getting into politics than anything else. But I can tell you, you'd make a good representative. Maybe you could try to be an independent guy whenever the bell is rung. So you've done well so far. And thanks again for inspiring words, inspiring the youth. Because many of them would like to speak, but today I believe they will come out because they have heard you, and more like you should come out. Thanks for the good work that you are doing, my brother. You are a great guy, man.
All right, thank you very much. A lot of compliments, Andy, coming your way. There's 10:46.
I appreciate it, and Matt, one of the things that we have to figure, it's not compliments really. I mean, we're just talking dollars and cents here, and we're just talking a
Truth
better
to
way.
power.
Truth to power. It's how to run a good shop, and I think we have to look at it in that way. I mean, if you're going to run a good shop, you're going to get good sales, you're going to get good profitability. Recently I had a chance to go across to the French Islands, Matt, and they have huge farms over there where they're farming power with big wind tunnels, windmills, and they have huge farms where they have basically solar farms. And we got to get into some of this. I mean, we have the same sun, we have the same wind. I mean, we have a lot of these good characteristics here, but we have to start focusing on harnessing some of that, because we have to make it so that everybody can profit from it as a nation, rather than as one person profiting. All has to profit in order for it to be fair.
You made a significant point as it relates to the private sector, but I am amazed, though, that the private sector themselves have been remaining very quiet on some of these issues.
Well,
At least some of them.
Well, some of them.
What is wrong with the DIC, for example?
Well, I think what we've done, Matt, and this is, well, I'm going to tell you in a nutshell what's wrong with a lot of people coming forward. And you mentioned that we have a lot of different groups out there and a lot of people who are well and they're affluent in Dominica, but they're not speaking up. And I'm going to tell you something, Matt. We've created a system in Dominica that has no boundaries. And when I mean boundaries, Matt, here's what I'm saying. The people who govern tend to try to control everything. So therefore, there's no independent...
Even the banking sector right now.
There's no independent bodies here. There's nothing that thinks independently. And therefore, we end up with no rules and regulations, because guess what? Everything is accessible by the governing body. And this has happened for many years. This is not the first government that has probably, encroached into it, whether it be the police department, whether it's the Bureau of Standards, whether it's the people who take care of the consumers or the consumer departments. I think what happens is that we basically have a dominant governing body, and that governing body says, hey, anything goes, because guess what? Who's going to stop me? There's nobody to stop me. And I would tell people that anytime you put any power is absolute, it will absolutely corrupt. I mean, that's just it, So you don't have anybody who is the so-called police of society. There has to be rules and regulations. Now, there also has to be somebody who is governing those rules and somebody who's making sure that the rules are followed. Our court system has to be independent. Our police system needs to be independent. Our Bureau of Standards needs to be independent. Our planning department, which is where they plan things, plan how a building works, plan who can build, where they can build, how many windows they can put, how many doors, is this a good place to put a step or a door or a window? These things have to be independent bodies. They have to have their own power. But nobody has their own power here. It's almost like every power is accessible to the government. So that's why nobody feels like talking, because they feel anything that they do, there could be somebody that could come after them.
All right, a very significant point there. Let's see if we can take a quick voice note. We don't have too much time, I can tell you that.
And your guest and all Dominicans, Matt. Matt, what a wonderful session you're having with Mr. Charlie, your guest this morning, Matt. Matt, I listened to this man, and we need more voices like that. We need more individuals like that to be part of governance in Dominica. Those are the people that would move Dominica forward, not people who are just ready to pilfer and plunder the country, Matt, but people who can make a genuine contribution, civic contribution to the country, Matt. Because, Matt, if we had a leader with the mindset of Mr. Jolly, Dominica would be the paradise that it used to be, that we wish it was at this point. Dominica would not be sinking in an abyss of poverty, mendicancy, and decadence, Matt, where the government has to provide from the pin down to the coffin for its citizens, and you call it development. That is not what you call development. That is not what you call governance. Bringing the people poor, impoverish them to the state of dependency, where they are, the only thing they know is to depend on the government for housing, for food, for school shoes, for school bags, for glasses for the children if the eyeglasses get broken, Matt. And that is why Dominica has not moved forward, because our mindset as to what governance should be, what governance is all screwed up, Matt. And that is why I firmly believe that people from all cross sections in Dominica, the civic community, the business community, persons who can make a legitimate and genuine contribution to the development of our country should come on board to move Dominica forward. Because this man you have sitting in your chair as the guest, Matt, he understands what governance is. He understands what it is to be a businessman, an independent businessman, man with an independent mind, Matt.
I'll tell you what, of course, as I said, let's try to keep the voice on kind of, you know, 2 minutes because people want to, I see the telephone's going crazy here this morning. But one concept, I've been thinking about this for a long, long time, Andy. Is this nature island concept working for Dominica?
I think it's not working, man. We should get rid of this, man. This nature island thing is nonsense. I'm going to tell you what.
You're saying that bluntly.
I'm saying it bluntly. Get rid of the nature island thing. This nature island thing, we got to get rid of this thing. No, but no. You know, Matt, here's the thing. We need people here. We need tourists that can come, enjoy, have a good time, beaches, parties. We need lifestyles. We need those things in Dominica, and those are the people that have the money that can come and spend.
You're going to get a few people upset by saying that.
Well, maybe we will. No, don't get me wrong here. There is room. I don't want us to go cut down all the forest. But I think we're trying to keep Dominica the same way so that Columbus is going to come back in 10 years and recognize us. This is nonsense, Matt. Roseau needs to be updated. We have some of the ugliest buildings in Roseau of any community. You go to any of the other countries, their buildings are beautifully built. They're very well designed. And don't get me wrong, we have some nice buildings in Roseau. But I mean, we're trying to keep the place like it was in the 17th century, Matt. It cannot work. We're ordering new Audis and Mercedes-Benz to drive on derelict roads that don't have space for these vehicles. We need to update ourselves.
What about the concept of putting again, coming back to the same point, the apartment buildings right in the city?
You know, Matt, if you are willing to give people the most expensive land that we have that don't have the money or don't have the ability to maintain it, then I don't know what you're going to do. Let's give them the cheap land. Let's go build houses on cheap land for them, you know, because that's what we need to do. We need to expand Roseau. That property, first of all, I would have used to expand Roseau. I am even in I think some people will even get all angst and sit out of the chair when I say, I think we should get rid of gardens and expand Roseau because we need more space. We are cramped like crabs in Roseau, Matt. There's no parking. There's no sidewalks. The commerce in Roseau is suffering. People are making less money in Roseau now than they've ever made before. You know why? People can't park their car to shop. We're done.
How do we get parking in Roseau, though?
Mark, we need to keep cars out of Roseau. Roseau is a parking lot. If you have to think of Roseau, name one place in Roseau where there is not a bus stop or something. Roseau is a parking lot. You know, get the parking lot out of Roseau. Get the bus stops out of Roseau. Let's fix Roseau and get sidewalks in Roseau where people can walk on without falling. Let's bring things in Roseau that make sense, make commerce, and make Roseau beautiful. Roseau is a waterfront city, but does not look like a waterfront city, Matt. We have more cars parked on the bayfront than ever before.
It looks like an eyesore.
Looks like an eyesore. We're a waterfront city. Go to any waterfront city in the world. You will never, ever get it looking like this city.
Let's take a phone call there. We have a few minutes. Wow. A lot of great points made by Andy Jolly. Hello, talk to me, businessman, pharmacist. Hello, talk to me, huh?
Thank you, Mr. Jolly. Well said. You couldn't have said it better. Roseau is the ugliest city in the Caribbean. Over 11 years ago, Kerry said he's going to make Roseau the envy of the Caribbean. Now Roseau seems to be I don't know how to even, what name to give it. And when I heard you say that your father was going to purchase a suit for you, cost maybe $600, and you said, no, you didn't want that. Can you imagine we have a person sitting as prime minister of a country and going to a place called Japan to make a suit for him, where all the high polo tour people of the world going to that man in Japan to make suit, and you just come and sit down on the sit on the prime minister, and you're going right up to Japan to make a suit. That man come to serve people. That man come to serve himself, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, let's take one final phone call. I think we don't have too much time. Hello, yes?
Listening to the program, man. What some significant points this young man is making. But I have one objection, though, not to him, but I think you said they are competing with the private sector. The government is not competing with the private sector. Their intent is to destroy the private sector so they become the sole provider of the people, so that people have to depend on them for everything. That's what it is. And so many in the people in the private sector that are silent. But time is longer than twine. They're going to realize it one of those days.
Do you agree with that voice now?
Well, I don't know if the government wants to be the sole provider, because that would mean that the government has a bank account that's pretty good. Anytime you're the sole provider, I mean, it's like you taking care of a wife, Matt. I mean, she's going to need hairdo, nails, manicures, pedicures, new dresses every summer. I don't think anybody wants that job to take care of everybody. My advice is to let everybody take care of themselves. Give them the opportunities. We're more than capable of. Give them the environment. We're more than capable of taking care of it. I can make my own money. I know how to make money very well. If you give me $1, I can bring back 1,000 for you, if I have the opportunity.
Quickly before we go, we have too many Chinese stores in Dominica.
I don't care about how many stores we have, Matt. The truth about it is that I think we need more people paying taxes in Dominica, because if the government competes with the private sector, then that means that their revenue goes down, because now you're providing services that are taxable. So then your taxable revenue is going down. So now you have to figure out how to collect taxes. So eventually what we're going to have happening in Dominica is that we're going to have increased taxes, because the government has to make money to run a country. And where's it going to come? It's going to come from our wallet, because it's all money.
But the point is, don't you think that more local Dominicans should get involved?
I don't think locals want to get involved, because it's a very harsh environment. It's a very, very harsh. Owning a store and a business in Dominica, man, I'm going to tell you, you can go gray real quick. So anybody who wants to get old real quick, go open a store. It's hard. It's very, very difficult. So let those who can do it, do it. I don't really care whether you're Chinese, Asian, American, Dominican. If you have the ability to open a store, so be it. Be an entrepreneur, open a store.
We're going to take one final call there. This morning my telephones have never stopped ringing, Andy. Andy has agreed, Mr. Joy has agreed to come back sometime next week, so we'll try to provide the time and let him know. Hello, talk to me, yes?
Morning, Matt. Amen to that.
Amen to that.
Matt, you need to replay that program for those young people, because I, at 68 years, I sit over time when I just shaking my head. Those young people need to listen to that. Play that again for those young people for me, please. Any other time. Thank you, Mr. George.
Yes, I will play it, but we'll have a part 2 before Andy returns to the big USA. Hello, talk to me, yes? 449-3095, our final call before we go, yes?
Matt, that's Observer speaking, and let me just speak very, very quick. I'm very happy to hear Mr. Jolly come right from where he come and mention about the idea of the packing that happened in Roseau. You can remember years ago, a few years ago, I gave you a plan that I had. I figured out that can work. That buses, for example, are coming from the valley. They would stop by above Silver Lake area, there where Miniers is there. A whole parking lot could be created there, and there is where the bus stop would be, and people take shuttle to come to Roseau. And when they're coming from Grand Bay side and the upper side of Loubier, where they're building, they're going to build a new hotel opposite, just above that area there by Crazy Coconut area. I say that a bus stand could be there for people who come in on that side, and then the public works site would be used for buses coming from the north area and coming up, and everything would be happening there, and you have a whole commerce happening in a free section there, and leave Roseau clear so people can come and shop and spend their time, spend their money there. When you come in Roseau bus, you have to spend half an hour driving around Roseau to get a parking spot. Time you see you do finish, you have to go and buy another $60 gas, because you spend $60 gas in half an hour just driving around Roseau to get a parking lot. And a man come from right overseas and have to tell us that. You see, boss?
Well, I'll tell you, thank you, Observer. And we may end on that note, but we'll come back to it. Roseau, as Andy said, You know, and most of us can believe that or will believe that. It's a big parking lot.
It's a huge parking lot, man. Really and truly, Roseau is a big parking lot and a big bus stop. I mean, there's not one. If you can probably tell me this, I will agree with you that I may be wrong. There's not one street in Roseau that we don't have bus stop on, and there's not one street in Dominica that we don't have cars parked on. In Roseau, just right here in Roseau. I mean, get the cars out of Roseau. Roseau is the size of a mall. We should not have cars driving through a mall. They're gonna run over people. So there's no space for people and cars in Roseau. I don't know why we haven't done this yet. I mean, it's simple. Close the bridges off and make the bridges walk-in bridges. That's all you have to do.
We've heard the politicians say it will be the envy of other cities in the Caribbean.
Well, we're not the envy of anybody right now, Matt. I'm going to tell you. If you want to be the envy of somewhere, let me buy you a ticket and let's go on vacation somewhere.
Thank you. All right. You'll be back sometime next week.
I'll be back next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Dominica, this is it.